If you take a look at the news or on social media these days, you can quickly get the impression that our world is going to the ground. The catastrophes are piling up, the challenges are becoming greater and greater, and one crisis follows the next. However, this is only half of the truth. Because even if the negative topics are often put in the spotlight in the media, positive things happen day after day. Life writes real happiness stories more often than you think, and sometimes even real miracles happen. For this reason, we want to show you in this video 10 people who had extreme luck. Included are people who became extremely rich out of nowhere, coincidences that made people world stars, and people who had extreme luck and misfortune. So, stay tuned here at Wonderlane. Oh, and at the end of this video, we have a very special person that probably no one on this list would have expected. So, if you want to know who this unique person is, watch the whole video to the end. On number 10, we begin with a moving story, which shows that sometimes it only takes a little luck to change an entire region forever. It's about a man named Saniniu Kurian Lizer, who actually lives as a castle herder in a small village in Tanzania. Since June 2020, however, Lizer has been famous for something completely different. Namely, he has become one of the richest people in Tanzania, a country where the average monthly income is less than 100 euros. The reason for Lazer's sudden wealth is related to what was probably the happiest moment of his life. The day when, by pure chance, he found 2 chunks of Tanzanite, or 2 precious stones, in a field in his area. While it is usually the case that large international corporations spend years searching for such gemstones, only to sell them extremely profitably, Lazer used his new wealth of almost 3 million euros to finally build a school and even a shopping center in his village. So, it's not just Lizer himself who benefits from his huge fortune, but also his entire region. On number 9, we come to a man who probably had several guardian angels on his side. What American Roy Sullivan has experienced throughout his life is so incredible that you have to see it with your own eyes to believe it. He holds the world record for the person who has been struck by lightning the most times, an incredible 7 times. A lightning strike on a human being is not only extremely life-threatening, but also extremely improbable. The chance of being struck is 1 in 6 million. If you extrapolate this to the 7 impacts of Sullivan, you get a probability of 1 in 16 quadrillion. That is a 16 with 24 zeros on it. What is even more unbelievable is that Sullivan remained virtually unharmed in all of the impacts. What's also particularly curious is that Sullivan narrowly missed an 8th bolt of lightning. One day, while he was relaxing in the garden with his wife during a thunderstorm, the lightning struck her and not him. Fortunately, she was also unharmed. The story continues with a British man named Jordan Adler Rogers, whose life turned 180 degrees overnight due to an extremely fortunate fact. Because actually, Rogers was struggling with a problem that many people struggle with, and that was being broke. On top of that, the 31-year-old had an extremely rough childhood, as his father disappeared before he was even born, leaving him and his mother in the lurch. So, Rogers never knew who his father was, until recently. In 2019, news reached him that his supposedly real father had died, and left him a fortune of £63 million as his descendant. Since Rogers had never met his father, it turned out to be complicated to get to the inheritance. Only after a successful DNA test, it could be officially confirmed that Rogers was the son of an extremely successful real estate mogul during his lifetime. Although he was never able to meet his father, he now has a fortune of £63 million. The story continues with one of Hollywood's most famous actors, who is only in this position today thanks to a great deal of luck. Harrison Ford, aka Indiana Jones or Han Solo. Ford, who as a young man was a passionate hobby actor, but always missed the breakthrough, was active before his great career as a carpenter. He built tables and tried to make ends meet somehow. For example, he worked in a craft company that had, among other things, prominent customers in California. So it happened that in 1973, he had an encounter that changed his life forever. At that time, he was sent to the home of Star Wars inventor George Lucas as a craftsman to carry out some modifications. He happened to be looking for suitable people for the first Star Wars movie, which later became one of the most legendary hits of all time. Although Ford was not an actor, his aura immediately convinced Lucas, which is why he cast him without hesitation for the legendary role of Han Solo. So, by this curious coincidence, Ford made it to the top of the film industry in no time at all, and is now one of the most respected men in show business. Next, we come to an athlete who has been an absolute superstar since the European Championship at the latest, and who has become an integral part of the German national team, Robin Gosens. However, while many people think that Gosens, like most other professionals, has had a very normal life through well-known youth academics and soccer schools, the truth is quite different. The fact that Gosens has reached where he stands today is thanks to a great deal of good fortune. In fact, the Atlanta Bergamo star had already buried his hopes for a professional career. Numerous soccer clubs didn't want the youngster on their team at that time, and he also failed a talent scouting program at Borussia Dortmund without mercy. For this reason, Gosens played for underclass teams for a long time, where the focus was more on fun than on sporting competition. For this very reason, it was not surprising that Gosens had once partied extremely hard before a match in 2012, and therefore showed up to the match heavily intoxicated. However, he didn't know that a scout from Dutch club Vitesse was watching the match and witnessed Gosens running away from everyone despite having residual alcohol in his system. After the game, the scout approached Gosens and signed him. The rest is then history. On number 5, we come to a rare disease that completely redefines the word happiness, namely the Williams syndrome. The extremely rare Williams syndrome causes the body to produce above average amounts of oxytocin, a hormone that many people also know as the love hormone. As a result, affected individuals almost exclusively have a very loving and joyful personality that is almost completely free of hate or other negative feelings. One of the few sufferers is the American Callie Truelove, who has produced a great deal of oxytocin since birth and is accordingly usually in a good mood. However, this disease can also lead to disadvantages. Since sufferers like Truelove usually trust everyone without reservation, it cannot be ruled out that this trust will also be abused. For this reason, it is important that those affected remain in a stable environment in which they only communicate with people who have earned their trust. Only in this way can people like Callie Truelove benefit from the fact that they will always be happy. Next, we come to a story that is about a lot of luck on the one hand, but also about an honorable deed on the other. In May of 2021, a crazy story went viral in the US, in which the protagonist was twice very lucky. A woman named Lee Fiega had won $1 million in the lottery. After this improbable stroke of luck occurred, it briefly seemed as if she had lost everything in one fell swoop. Before she could cash in the ticket, she lost it and was faced with a gigantic disappointment. Luck was on her side again, when shortly afterwards, the owners of the lottery store found the ticket and returned it to her without batting an eye. The owners could have redeemed the ticket for themselves and thus enriched themselves with the luck of others, but this benefit shows that in the end, luck can also lie with those who have earned it. On number 3, we come to a moment that shows how close life and death can often be and what true happiness really means. A few years ago, the accident of an American teenager named Des Heel, who actually just wanted to play ball with some friends in the garden, went went around the world. However, due to an unfortunate stumble, Heel fell on a bamboo stick that could have seriously injured him. Miraculously, the stick missed all vital vessels and organs, so Des Heel was able to leave the hospital after only a short time. Both for his family and his friends who witnessed this terrible accident, this was, according to his own statement, an absolute miracle. On number 2, we now come to a few notable mentions. So, not only was this hiker extremely lucky when his toes narrowly missed a nail, this car driver will also probably have been very happy about this pigeon that ruined the shot for the speed camera. Speaking of cars, that this tree has fallen right, and his car remained without a scratch. The driver must have been very pleased. And besides a 4-leaf clover, this Chips fan was also extremely lucky when he found the matching Cheese Liberty statue in his bag, which will probably win him a big prize. Last but not least, on number 1, we come to probably the most surprising person on this list, namely you. Because even though we don't know anything about you in detail, and it's certainly possible that you've had a tough fate, it never hurts to remember how lucky each and every one of us has been. If you are watching this video, it means that you were not only one of the billions of sperm that eventually prevailed over all the others. Moreover, you are still alive, which is not a matter of course, even if you are still very young. Apart from that, you seem to speak English, so the probability is very high that you live in one of the most developed and prosperous cultures in the world. That alone makes you luckier than most of the world's population. In addition, you have seen this video to the end, which certainly speaks for the fact that you are an interested and attentive person, a quality that will certainly benefit you in life. On top of that, you are lucky enough to be born into an age that is more advanced and better than ever before. Even though everything is far from perfect, our world has never been more just, knowledge and medicine never more advanced, and there has rarely been more peace in the world than there is today. Don't get us wrong, we don't want to deny that there are people who have it rough. But nevertheless, we believe that almost everyone can find numerous reasons to be grateful for what they have. And that's it for our video, with 10 real people who were incredibly lucky. Write us in the comments, what was the happiest moment in your life? For us, it's definitely that we can entertain such a great community like you with our videos every day. We couldn't be happier for anything in the world. So thank you for everything, and we'll see you next time, here at Wonderlane.